Section 1, The Night the North Atlantic Went Silent. April 3, 1943. Mid-Atlantic, 2:17 hours. Fog sits low over the convoy like a heavy woolen blanket, muting the world to a faint hiss of wind and water. On the bridge of the British merchant freighter SS Empire Gannet, the signal lamp flickers nervously as the ship's lookout peers into the darkness, searching for the single shape every sailor dreads, the conning tower of a German U-boat. The sea is black glass, broken only by the churn of the escort destroyers weaving in protective arcs around the freighters. Somewhere out there, under the waves, diesel engines purr softly. Hydrophones bounce faint echoes off hulls. Depth gauges twitch. German U-boat commander Oberleutnant Karl Fischer stares at the green glow of his plotting board aboard U-664, and frowns. Something is wrong. He should have intercepted the convoy hours ago. Naval Enigma traffic, decoded by the Germans, encrypted for Allied shipping positions, told him precisely where the convoy would be. Yet the Atlantic is empty. No silhouettes. No smoke plumes. No radar blips. Not even the hum of a distant screw. He murmurs to his radio man, "Check the coordinates again. The convoy must be here." But the radio man can only shrug. The map says they should be surrounded by targets. The ocean says otherwise. Above the waves, aboard the Gannet, the ship's captain senses the same eerie stillness, but from the opposite side of fate. Convoy ONSA-3 is moving through waters that should be crawling with U-boats. Instead, it's a ghost slipping through darkness untouched. You, the viewer, stand on that deck, feeling every vibration through the steel beneath your boots. Every shadow seems a potential periscope. Every gust of wind carries a whisper of mortality. And yet, nothing happens. No alarm bells. No torpedo wakes. No sudden, violent blast that sends cold seawater cascading across the deck. Instead, the convoy moves peacefully, impossibly, toward the horizon. But this calm is not luck. Nor is it weather, or escort strength, or any sudden incompetence on the part of the German wolf packs. It is the result of a single insight, conceived months earlier in a cramped room filled with cigarette smoke, clattering machinery, and chalk dust-covered blackboards. An idea born not from a naval officer, not from a spy in occupied Europe, not from a hardened cryptanalyst, but from a quiet, unassuming civilian mathematician named Joan Clarke. Before this night, German U-boats used naval Enigma keys that shifted daily, brutally difficult codes that often took the Allies far too long to break. By the time the decrypted positions of Allied convoys were known, those ships might already be under attack. The North Atlantic became a graveyard of steel because the codebreakers at Bletchley Park were always one step behind. Until Clarke noticed something. A pattern. A weakness. A flaw hidden within the chaos of Enigma's encrypted signals, a flaw overlooked by nearly everyone, even Alan Turing himself. Her idea would make the massive electromechanical bomb machines, designed to tear through Enigma permutations, run faster, smarter, and more efficiently. It would transform hours of analysis into minutes. And it would make real-time tracking of German naval traffic suddenly possible. On this night in April 1943, her innovation is already at work, silently shielding the convoy. U-664 prowls the sea in confusion. The crew listens. They strain for the faintest hint of propellers. But the ocean remains quiet because Bletchley Park is no longer behind the Germans. It is ahead of them. And this moment, the sudden, impossible disappearance of an entire convoy from German grasp, is the first true demonstration of a revolution in code-breaking that will turn the tide in the Battle of the Atlantic. Section 2, The Woman Behind the Silence. January 1943. Bletchley Park, HUD 8. Rain lashes against the frosted windows as the wind howls across the Buckinghamshire estate. Inside, the air is thick with pipe smoke, the steady clatter of typewriters, and the grinding pulse of the bomb machines in the next room, electromechanical giants chewing endlessly through permutations of German Enigma traffic. Joan Clarke sits at a scarred wooden desk, pencil tapping lightly against her notebook. Her colleagues, some in uniform, some in rumpled civilian clothes, pace between message slips, wiring diagrams, and chalkboard scrawls. But Joan barely notices the bustle. She's tracing patterns in silence, her eyes locked onto a series of decrypted fragments lying across her workspace. A few lines of gibberish to most. To her, they hum with structure. Every night, naval Enigma operators aboard U-boats broadcast position reports, weather updates, and rendezvous instructions. Each message encrypted through the notoriously complex M4 machine, the four-rotor variant specifically designed to shut the Allies out. For months, Bletchley has struggled. Ultra-intelligence has slowed. Attacks on convoys spike. U-boat wolfpacks tighten their nooses around the North Atlantic routes. Joan studies the fragments again, sliding one sheet beneath another, aligning them by time stamp. She murmurs softly, almost to herself, it's not the content, it's the rhythm. She notices something odd, something subtle but consistent. Certain encrypted trigrams appear more frequently at predictable intervals when German naval operators change settings. Not the letters themselves, those are random, but the structure of the changes. A fingerprint in the chaos. Across the room, Alan Turing leans over a kettle heating unevenly on a portable stove. He glances at Joan, noticing the intense focus etched into her expression. "You've found something," he says, not asking but observing. She hesitates only a moment before sliding the stack of sheets toward him. The Kriegsmarine thinks their indicator settings are random. But they're not quite. Operators favor certain patterns when they switch keys. Habit. Human nature. Turing's brow furrows. A bias? A tiny one, Joan replies. But consistent enough that the bombe can exploit it, if we adjust how the menu is built. This is the spark. A new method of constructing bombe menus, those complex logical maps telling the machines how to attack Enigma's wiring. Clarke's insight means the bombes won't waste hours on dead-end chains. They can target the most probable rotor settings first, pruning massive branches of the search tree in minutes. Faster cycles. Earlier breaks. Decrypts while they're still tactically relevant. Turing looks at the sheets again, eyes widening. This could cut the search time by a factor of 10. Joan simply nods. It is not dramatic. Not cinematic. It is the kind of quiet, razor-sharp intellectual leap born only of deep intuition and relentless attention to detail. Within hours, engineers begin rewiring bombe menus according to Clarke's logic. New settings. New paths. New efficiencies. The machines were faster, slicing deeper into M4 permutations. Soon the first test results come in cleaner, sharper, correct. The room erupts not in cheers, but in a subtle shift of posture, a shared breath of possibility. A rare moment of relief. Because every minute saved here means something very real, very human, out on the Atlantic. Merchant sailors who get to live another night. Escorts who won't be ambushed. Convoys that slip past wolf packs because their positions aren't being read quickly enough by the enemy. Clarke returns to her desk as the bombes begin their accelerated runs. No celebration. No fanfare. Just more work to do. More patterns to understand. More lives to save. But outside Bletchley Park's gates, the effect of her idea is already rippling across thousands of miles of black ocean, toward a convoy sailing silently through the night, invisible to the hunters below. Section 3, The Moment the Germans Fell Behind. March 1943. North Atlantic approaches. Snow whips across the bow of HMS Viscount as the destroyer carves through steel-gray swells, its Aztec gear pinging steadily beneath the waves. The escort commander, Lieutenant Commander Arthur Selby, stands braced against the wind, binoculars fixed on the horizon. He knows this stretch of ocean has become a slaughterhouse. Convoy HX-229 was torn apart only days earlier. But tonight, there is something different in the air. A confidence he can't quite explain. Below deck, a radio operator hunches over the headphones. For hours, he's been cycling through frequencies, searching for the usual chatter, wolfpack coordination signals, routine U-boat reports, contact sightings. But the headset offers only static. No bearings. No D/F lines. Nothing. U-boats are out there, he knows. They always are. They're just not where they're supposed to be. On the other side of the Atlantic, the reason becomes clear. Bletchley Park, 6:22 hours. The bomb machine in Hut 11 shudders, clicking through its final sequence before halting with a clank that echoes down the corridor. Technician Cicely Mayhew tears the printout from the drum and rushes it into Hut 8, where Joan Clarke and the night team are bent over fresh intercepts. "Break on the naval key," Cicely announces, breathless. Joan looks up, eyes tired but sharp. She takes the slip, scanning the rotor settings. It worked again. The bomb, guided by her menu refinements, has torn through the possibilities far faster than expected. Another M4 key solved. Another window into the enemy's intentions. Without waiting for instruction, she and two other analysts begin feeding the settings into decryption machines. Tape reels spin. Lamps flicker. The room hums with controlled urgency. Lines of German text spool out. Contact bricht. Rendezvous. Convoy Sichtmeldung. Convoy sighting reports. Wolfpack assembly orders. Weather updates tied to U-boat patrol lines. All of it flooding into Allied hands only hours after transmission. Which means the Germans are now the ones behind. For the first time. Joan circles a set of coordinates with a charcoal pencil. These three groups, Seewolf, Sternbach, Haberfeld, they're being redeployed south. The Germans think the convoy is moving along the old route. But it's not, another analyst says. Admiralty shifted it 2 days ago. And the Germans don't know, Joan replies quietly. Within minutes, a dispatch courier sprints toward the teleprinter room. Another coded message flashes across Atlantic cables. And aboard HMS Viscount, Selby receives new orders, course adjustments that thread the convoy through a gap between wolfpacks, a gap the Germans don't realize exists. To the U-boat commanders, it's maddening. U-92, 1840 hours. Captain Lieutenant Rolf Thompson peers through his U-boat's attack periscope, scanning empty sea. The convoy's last reported position should put them directly ahead. But the Atlantic spreads untouched before him. He adjusts the dial. Focuses. Looks again. Nothing. He slams the periscope handles. "Where are they?" he growls. His radioman rechecks the Enigma decrypts. The reports are clear. The rendezvous was supposed to be here. The convoy must be here. But the ocean does not lie. Across the next 2 weeks, German frustration grows. Convoys are late. Or early. Or taking strange paths. Or failing to appear entirely. Shadowing reports dry up. Contacts vanish. Wolfpacks form around empty water. Meanwhile, U-boat sinkings rise. Escorts seem to guess where they are hiding. Air patrols catch them at refueling points. Depth charge attacks increase. The hunters begin to feel hunted. And back at Bletchley Park, Joan Clarke's quiet insight, scribbled on a few sheets of paper weeks earlier, has become a decisive weapon. Her revision didn't just speed analysis. It pulled German eyes off the board. It blinded the wolf packs. It turned the Atlantic into a maze where the Allies held the map and the Germans wandered in the dark. The ocean itself had shifted balance. Section 4, The Convoy That Should Have Died. April 3, 1943. 4:11 hours. Mid-Atlantic. The sky begins to lighten, just barely, casting a cold silver haze across convoy ONS-A3. Diesel smoke drifts in thin ribbons over the merchant ships as the wind shifts. On the deck of the SS Empire Gannet, sailors pull their coats tight, rubbing numb fingers as they scan the horizon. Dawn is the worst time. The hour when U-boats prefer to strike. The moment when silhouettes stand out cleanest against the sky. But as the convoy pushes westward, something astonishing happens. Not a single alarm bell rings. No frantic Morse bursts from the escorts. No orders to zigzag. No torpedo wake slicing toward the hulls. Just the low thrum of engines, the slap of waves, and the breath of tired men who do not yet realize they are being protected by a miracle born in a quiet English hut. Beneath the surface, inside US 664, the mood is rapidly souring. Oberleutnant Carl Fischer has slept only 20 minutes in the last 24 hours. His face is drawn, his hair plastered to his forehead with sweat and condensation. He crouches beside the chart table, red lamped glow flickering over his features, as he traces and retraces the projected convoy path. "It must be here," he mutters. "We decoded the positions last night. The others should have reported contact. But they haven't. Not a single U-boat in his wolf pack has sighted the convoy." His radioman tunes the frequencies again. Static. He tries a different antenna. More static. No sighting reports. No contact signals. No bearings. It makes no sense. Fischer slams a fist into the console. They've changed course, again. How do they know we're coming? He doesn't realize that hours earlier, Joan Clarke's work cracked the daily naval key, and that the Allies now know exactly which patrol lines the U-boats have shifted to. Fischer's wolf pack is steering into empty ocean while the convoy glides safely miles to the north. Aboard HMS Viscount, for 20 hours. Lieutenant Commander Arthur Selby watches the merchant ships through his binoculars as the first orange glow of sunrise touches the waves. Something feels strangely calm. Too calm. He turns as his signals officer approaches, message slip in hand. "Another Admiralty update, sir. Enemy wolf packs redeployed further south. We're clear on this heading." Selby nods, though he does not yet understand how Admiralty is receiving such precise intelligence in near real time. No one on the escort line does. They just know orders keep coming, sharp, accurate, life-saving. He folds the message and slips it into his pocket. Whatever magic is guiding these course changes, it's working. Back at Bletchley Park, 9-12 hours. The night team has rotated out, but the machines never sleep. New intercepts pour in through teleprinters, each one a heartbeat of the war. Joan Clarke stands over a new decrypted batch with a cup of tea cooling in her hand, her eyes darting across lines of German text. A new series of instructions from BDU, U-Boat High Command. Joan's pencil snaps. She grabs another. Circles a phrase. Underlines coordinates. "They're shifting the patrol wedge again," she tells the duty officer. "They still think the convoy is following the old pattern. They're doubling down on the wrong position." The officer hurries off to the messenger desk. Within minutes, the latest intelligence begins its transatlantic journey. Admiralty analysts integrate it. Radio operators encode it. And out at sea, escort commanders receive yet another subtle course correction. Joan rubs her temples. Exhaustion creeps in, but there is no time for rest, not now. Every message cracked could be a ship saved. Every speed-up caused by her improved menu process buys the Allies minutes, sometimes hours, hours that mean life or death for sailors scattered across the unforgiving Atlantic. Outside the hut, the bombs grind on, their rhythmic clicking echoing across the cold morning air. The sound is strange, mechanical, yet it is the heartbeat of survival for thousands of men who will never know her name. US 664, 7:01 hours. Fischer finally surfaces to sweep the horizon. Salt spray lashes the conning tower as he raises his binoculars. Nothing. Just the empty, endless Atlantic. He curses under his breath. His second-in-command climbs up beside him. "Sir." BDU's last message says the convoy should have been visible by now. Fischer lowers the binoculars slowly. Then either their intelligence is wrong. He pauses. The words taste impossible. Or someone has blinded us. For the first time, a ripple of doubt moves through him, a feeling German U-boat commanders have never known, helplessness. He orders the boat to dive again. Orders the radioman to request fresh bearings from BDU. Orders a new search pattern. But each hour brings only failure. The convoy is gone. Invisible. Untouched. Aboard the Empire Gannet, 9:45 hours. Sailors lounge on deck, exhausted but relieved. The sea is bright now, calm enough to show the faint horizon line in every direction. A young seaman leans against the rail beside you, exhaling a long breath. "Funny, isn't it?" he says. "This stretch is usually crawling with U-boats. But today, nothing." He doesn't know why. No one here does. But in a quiet hut in Buckinghamshire, a civilian mathematician is already turning back to her desk, scanning the next sheet of encrypted fragments, ensuring the convoy remains invisible for yet another night. The hunters are lost. And the hunted have slipped beyond their reach. Section 5, The Day the Battle of the Atlantic Turned. April 5, 1943. Western Approaches Command, Liverpool. The operations room hums with activity, plotting tables spread with acetate overlays, Wren's moving markers across the Atlantic charts, teleprinters chattering in the corner. The North Atlantic is a living, shifting thing on these walls, a mosaic of convoys, patrol zones, and wolf-pack formations. But this morning, something extraordinary is happening. The German positions are moving, blindly. Admiral Max Horton, commander of the Western Approaches, stands over the central plotting table with a cup of tea gone cold in his hand. Before him, an intelligence officer points to a set of red markers, the known U-boat patrol lines. "Sir, enemy groups Seawolf and Sturmbach have shifted south again, still searching for ONS-3. Our convoy is already past them." Horton nods slowly, fingertips resting on the edge of the map. "They're chasing ghosts." He doesn't know the full details of how, he's only been told the codebreakers have made significant progress, but he can see the results with absolute clarity. Wolfpacks drifting the wrong way. Escorts arriving at ambush points before U-boats. Convoys threading between enemy screens with surgical precision. The room has changed in subtle ways too. Fewer frantic calls. Fewer markers turning from blue to black, the color for lost ships. More green arrows showing safe passage. A Wren approaches with another slip of paper. "Intelligence update from Bletchley Park, sir." Horton reads it. Raises an eyebrow. "Another break? Already?" "Yes, sir. They've cracked the new daily key." He glances toward the U-boat positions. It's only mid-morning. But the code that should have taken all day, sometimes two, is already open. Horton exhales, a faint smile tugging at his mouth. "Remarkable," he murmurs. "Whoever is behind this, they're giving us back the Atlantic." Bletchley Park, Hut 8, 11:03 hours. Joan Clarke stands before a wall lined with cipher sheets, the paper edges curled from handling. The hum of the bombs filters in from outside, steady and relentless. Analysts gather around as she marks corrections and cross-checks rotor alignments. Her colleague, Peter Twin, hands her a decoded message. "More traffic from you, 529. Their search pattern is completely off." She studies it. They believe the convoy took the southern branch. But the Admiralty moved it north last night. He nods. If they keep chasing false intercepts like this, they'll never find it. And that's when Joan realizes something profound. This isn't just working. It's outpacing German decision cycles entirely. For the first time in the war, the Allies are acting on information faster than the Germans can use their own. Speed, not brute force, has become the decisive weapon. Mid-Atlantic, 1547 hours. The sea glitters under the afternoon sun as ONS-3 moves steadily toward Newfoundland. The men aboard the merchant ships are weary, salt-crusted, and hungry, but alive. Escort destroyers weave around them like protective wolves, their engines humming comfortingly through the hull. On the Empire Gannet, the ship's cook leans out of the galley window, shouting at two young sailors who've dared to sun themselves on deck. "Oi! If you've got time to tan, you've got time to peel potatoes." The laughter that follows is light, too light for a convoy expecting ambush at any moment. Yet the tension has eased. The sailors can feel it. Something has changed. Danger is still out there, but it feels diluted. Farther away. You sense it too, the strange sensation that an invisible shield surrounds the convoy. A shield built from intelligence, mathematics, and the relentless logic of machines. Not steel. Not armor. But insight. U-664, 1802 hours. The frustration aboard Fisher's boat has reached a boiling point. The crew whisper among themselves. They know the signs, this patrol is failing. The Atlantic has turned against them. Fisher calls for a depth reading, then checks the battery levels. He cannot stay submerged forever. He must surface soon. Must risk aircraft. Must risk radar. But he has no choice. Prepare to surface, he orders. As the ballast tanks blow and U-664 rises, Fisher braces for the worst, the silhouette of a Sunderland flying boat, or the unmistakable line of a destroyer bearing down. But when the conning tower breaks the waves, the sky is empty. The sea is silent. And the convoy they sought is nearly 200 miles away, already sliding beyond reach. Fisher grips the cold steel rail, jaw tight. They've vanished, he whispers. But deep inside, another thought stirs, one he dares not speak aloud. Something has changed in this war. And he is right. Because the day the German wolfpacks lost the trail was the day Bletchley Park, driven by a civilian mathematician whose name they would never know, took control of the Atlantic. Section 6, Joan Clarke's Invisible Victory. April 7, 1943. Bletchley Park, 22:38 hours. Night fog curls low over the manor grounds as Hut 8 glows from within, lamps burning through the mist like beacons. Inside, the room is quieter than usual. The shift is thinning. Teacups sit half-finished beside stacks of intercepts. The bombs next door grind on, their rhythmic clatter like distant, mechanical thunder. Joan Clarke sits alone at her desk, shoulders slightly hunched, hair falling loose from its pins as she sorts the latest printouts. Her pencil dances over one decrypted message after another, cross-checking, annotating, confirming rotor shifts. She's been here nearly 14 hours without pause, but she shows no signs of slowing. A knock sounds at the door. It's Alan Turing, a stack of punched cards tucked under his arm. He hesitates for a moment, then steps inside. "You've seen the Admiralty reports?" he asks. She nods. ONS-A3 made it through intact. Not just intact, Turing replies quietly. Not a single attack. The U-boats were scattered. Confused. They couldn't find the convoy at all. Joan looks down, a faint mixture of pride and disbelief crossing her expression. It's working better than we expected. Turing smiles, small, reserved, but genuine. Joan. I know you don't seek recognition. But you must understand, your menu revision has changed everything. We're breaking keys before the Germans can use the information they're sending. They're operating blind. She sets her pencil aside, folding her hands atop the decrypts. It won't last forever, she says. They'll adjust. They always do. Perhaps, Turing replies. But right now, this week, this moment, thousands of men are alive because of your insight. For a moment, the relentless pressure of the war lifts. Just for a heartbeat. Then Joan reaches for another intercept. We should keep ahead of them, she says. There's more traffic coming in. Turing nods, stepping back toward the door. Of course. He leaves her there, a solitary figure illuminated by lamplight, fighting a battle no sailor will ever witness and no enemy will ever comprehend. North Atlantic, April 8, 1943. 7:20 hours. A storm rolls over the sea, waves hammering the hulls of the convoy as they near the protection of Newfoundland-based air patrols. Clouds hang low and dark. Rain pelts the decks in sheets. But the mood is electric. A cheer erupts from one of the merchant ships as a Catalina flying boat appears on the horizon, its engines roaring through the storm. The convoy has made it. They are now under the umbrella of Allied air cover, a threshold that almost guarantees survival. On the bridge of HMS Viscount, Lieutenant Commander Selby allows himself a deep breath he's held for 3 days straight. Signal to the convoy, he orders. Congratulations on safe passage. A petty officer begins tapping the lamp. Selby steps out into the rain, letting it run down his face, and gazes at the battered merchant ships trailing behind him like tired pack animals. Not one is missing. He doesn't know why the sea has been so strangely quiet. Or how the U-boats failed so completely. Or why every course change from the Admiralty arrived at precisely the right moment. He only knows that they lived. All of them. And somewhere back in England, someone made that possible. Berlin, BDU Headquarters, April 10, 1943. Admiral Karl Donitz stares at the reports scattered across his desk, ink smudged from the force of his grip. 6 wolf packs. 45 U-boats engaged. 0 successes. He slams a fist onto the oak surface. They cannot all have disappeared, he shouts. Convoys do not simply vanish. Officers shuffle nervously. No one answers. In the silence, Donitz senses it, a shift in the air. A turn in the tide. A new, invisible enemy twisting the Atlantic against him. He doesn't yet know the name. He never will. But the Battle of the Atlantic has just changed forever. Bletchley Park, April 11, 1943. 6:07 hours. Joan Clarke steps outside, stretching sore shoulders as dawn breaks pale and cool across the fields. Birds chatter in the hedges. The estate is peaceful, almost deceptively so. She closes her eyes for a moment. The convoy made it. The wolf packs failed. And the Allies, finally, are no longer behind. Her work will continue. The war will grind on. But the first great turning point of the Atlantic battle has passed. And it passed in silence. Not the silence of loss, but the silence of survival, earned not by guns or armor, but by logic, intuition, and a pencil stroke on a sheet of encrypted fragments. A victory no one will read about in the papers. A triumph fought without ships or torpedoes. A battle won by a civilian mathematician who changed the shape of the sea.